presentation is called Listen and Learn, but actually it's going to go both ways today. So I think you guys might hear some helpful stuff, but I also want to save time at the end to hear from you. So if you can hold your questions until we're through the presentation and I get to ask you questions, I would love that opportunity today. All right, so I'm Emily Brown. I'm the Water Conservation Policy Manager in the Conservation Office in the Water Services Department in the City of Phoenix. It's like a lot of little details. And I have some goals for the presentation today. So I want to introduce you to the Phoenix Water Services Department, give you an update about the water supply sources that serve Phoenix customers, give you an update about the city's efforts to maintain our water resilience, and then share some of our top water conservation solutions. We actually have those on leaflets and 10 different stickers outside, so I'm leaving all that stuff with you guys, and you can always have more if you want. Send me an email. And then, yeah, we're going to listen to you about your priorities, concerns, and questions. So, who is the Water Services Department? We provide a life essential public service, which is clean and safe drinking water, reliable wastewater services, and we also are responsible for stormwater management in certain situations. I'm here to talk about our culture of conservation today and what the Water Conservation Office does. We focus on promoting efficient and responsible water use, and specifically we're interested in reducing barriers and empowering customers to participate in conservation. We have a whole website dedicated to this, and it's called phoenix.gov/savewater. Very simple and memorable. So, question for you guys, can you raise your hand if you pay a Phoenix water bill? Okay, so there's no right answer, but that helps me know. And then who sells in Phoenix? Almost everyone, okay. All right, and then a question before we start, where do you think Phoenix's drinking water comes from? There's more than one right answer. You can choose from these options, which I'll read aloud. So if you think it's A, the Salt River, raise your hand. B, oceans, raise your hand. No one's raising their hand, that's good. C, groundwater. D, Verde River. E, Colorado River. I've heard about that one. F, Gila River. Okay. I'm surprised nobody got the Gila River today. So, yes, we do not get water from the ocean or the Gila River. We actually send water downstream to Gila River eventually. We have the Salt River and Verde River, which are our local waters. And then we have the Colorado River, which is a regional river that serves 7 states and 2 countries. We also have a little bit of groundwater. So here's a pie chart that shows you our current drinking water supply makeup. We have the majority of our water coming from local sources, and then about 40% coming from the Colorado River. Only a little bit is groundwater because we preserve that water for times of trouble. We have been replenishing groundwater for a very long time. There are laws dedicated to its protection and management. And in times of drought or scarcity where our more renewable surface water supplies are stressed, that's when we might start using groundwater. So we haven't been for a while. So some context, who has heard that Phoenix is in a drought? Okay, almost everybody knows.
Every year?
Yeah. So you guys said something about Colorado River when I mentioned that, so you might have heard that we're forecasted to have lower flows. We have been having lower flows, and that's just going to keep on happening. And specifically, Arizona and Phoenix, I mentioned there's 7 states who get water from this river. We're going to have lower water supply availability along with everybody else. So in June 2022, the director of the Water Services Department declared a Stage 1 water alert, activated the drought management plan, and we have been trying to educate our customers for the past 3 years about how to live with drought conditions. Something important to note for you guys when you talk to your residents and buyers, the residential outdoor water use that generally is covered by what Phoenix Water delivers, it's about 28% outdoors. So we have over 50% of the water that the city is serving going to residential use. And then of that percentage of everything we're delivering, about 30% is just landscaping water. That's a lot. So in your individual house, it changes seasonally, like when it's really hot, like right now. It might be as high as 75% of your household water use is outdoors, but on average during the year, it's about 55% of the water you use at home being outside. So it's a lot.
So it's non-reclaimable also?
No, it's either going in the ground or evaporating. Yeah.
So you can't like.
Even with everyone getting turf, so much turf, like.
Yeah.
So how much is that, what you say, is that, how much is that evaporating and how much is?
So the percentage of residential water that the city delivers, it's over 50%.
Right.
And then the percentage of water that Phoenix delivers for residential water that is just landscaping, it's almost 30%. Yeah. Does that answer your question? It's a big amount.
And how much the recycled water that we get back, how much, how much we dispose, go back to the city?
So none of the water that you apply outdoors will come back actually, which is
Right.
what stresses me out. Anything that goes down the drain is coming back.
Right,
So
how much
we
is
love
that
when it goes
going
down the drain.
at this point? How much we go?
There's about, I think, like a 40% return of the whole system.
That's not too bad.
Reclamation?
Anything that goes down the sewer, about 40% of the water we send out is coming back.
I wonder how much of that we can use, like purify and go back to.
Of that, like, so 100 is all the water we send, 40% going down the drain, coming back to a wastewater treatment plant. Almost all of that can be reclaimed. There's some lost in like processing, evaporation, but yeah, almost all of that's coming back, which is good news.
That's good thing.
Yeah.
Cindy, is this strictly Phoenix or pretty much the Valley of the Sun?
So that 40% recovery depends on each system, but in general, that's how almost all utilities work. There's some that goes down the drain, there's some that goes outside, and if it goes down the drain, that's an opportunity to reclaim it. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about drought versus shortage. You might not have considered that these are different things, but they are. So a drought is sort of a abiotic condition. It's not alive, it's not caused by things that are alive usually. So it's caused by weather or time. By time I mean like geologic time scale, like rocks, that old. And then natural cycles of our environment. Shortage, however, is caused by living things. It usually is meaning that the demand for water is greater than the water supply that is available. A shortage could happen with or without humans being impacted, but we're the ones who care most of the time. So many factors impact shortage. Biggest one is humans. Our built environment, dams, and those natural and so the alive and the unalive things. Does that make sense to everybody? There's many things causing the shortage. And then also, a drought can cause a shortage. Okay. So, talking about Western water management, when you hear the news, sometimes it's like overwhelming. You're like, who's in charge? What's happening in the West and what's happening to me? So, there's 3 levels of management for Western water, just like there's 3 levels of government. Federal is the highest level. They have the most influence, and it's the Bureau of Reclamation. They're managing dams and the generation of like power. So they're the most in charge. And then we have the state. The state will be the one negotiating with other states, trying to negotiate and follow the rules from the federal government, and then telling the cities how to work with that. At the local level, there's 2 things happening. There are raw water providers, so when the water comes out of the dam, it has to get to us somehow. It comes in the canal. And that is managed by some sort of cooperative entity. it's a little confusing what they are. They're like a non-governmental or a not-for-profit, but they're not a non-profit. Yes. So they are like an association of, it's like a really old type of non-profit where you like get together with your, fellow land users and do something.
That was like the first Salt River project.
That's
basically?
it, yes.
Yeah.
So Central Arizona Project and Salt River Project. There's also irrigation districts, but CAP and SRP are the ones that really impact us the most. So once you get past the canal level, that's when you get to the municipality. So there's a lot of people between Phoenix and the river. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. So when you hear about stuff happening in the news, it's probably not us. We're just dealing with the hand that is dealt. And we're also bearing the most consequences. So I mentioned there's a stage 1 water alert currently. It's been about 3 years. I think that we're going to start hearing in the news more about the drought and the condition of the Colorado River. So the best thing that we have going, other than our water rights and the planning that we've been doing for years, all of this is our culture and the way that residents behave. So it doesn't really matter how much water we have if we aren't able to control the way that we use water. Does that make sense to everybody? It's kind of like budgeting. So water conservation is generally a community action and sustained behavior. It's a culture shift. So when you make a choice to save water or conserve, if you put in a smart irrigation controller that's going to water your yard efficiently every time now without you having to worry, that's like making a choice once. But everything else you're doing, if you are using a full load of laundry when you use your washer, or if you are turning off the faucet when you're not using it, that's a choice you're making over and over. So there's like a range between how much choice is involved. So to have conservation be effective, we need many people making those decisions and choices consistently. And then over time we have the culture, which is sort of an ethic. Eventually you're like thinking about water all the time, you want to use it well. That begins to emerge. This is important because, as I mentioned, Phoenix, there's a lot of decision makers between us and the river. And then also, when we provide water, we don't really have much influence over what happens to it. It's on the users, who are the whole community, all of our residents, to decide to use it well. So we need help with that.
Can I just make a quick comment? I've been, since all this, I've been trying to do better. Like when I wash my face, I used to just lock it and leave it alone. And now it's like, okay, I'm scrubbing it. Why the water is on? I'm taking a shower. Why I'm not, doing this and then turn the faucet. It's just amazing that there's such a little thing. But if we can all contribute a little bit, we can really extend our water supply.
Yeah, that's the thing
and
is
then
like,
also on the landscaping, we just outrageous.
right. Yeah, it's the power of many like individuals. And if some people are like overwhelmed and they're like, what do I do? This is a big problem. I couldn't possibly do anything to help. But then you discount your power. You have to like accept that you're powerful in this situation. And if you can convince somebody else to do it with you, that's even better. So it's about everybody making the choices together. Yes.
Real quick question regarding outdoor water, because we all have seen it, the waste it's awful, but is there a system that the city would recommend?
So like being efficient, you mean?
Yeah, a more efficient sprinkling system.
There's a smart controller, and that will water, well, it will turn off if it's going to rain ever again. So you're not irrigating while it's raining. You don't like that. And then it will hopefully be optimized to just water efficiently, so not watering every day or twice a day. It's watering like 2 times a week.
So is this something that you purchase and you connect it to your existing system?
You have a controller box, probably, and it's by your like outdoor water spigot. And I don't know, my parents, it's like 40 years old. It's really crusty. So you would just get rid of that and put in the new one, and it connects to an app. And then you can just control it from there. It's very handy. We have a incentive to help you buy that. $75.
That's not bad.
Yep. Scottsdale gives you like 200. Don't know what the controllers are not that expensive.
So we can buy that or?
Any like big box store. So like Home Depot, Lowe's.
And they're just
And it'll-
called smart controllers?
Smart irrigation.
It'll detect when it's in the rain.
It might have a moisture sensor, it might have some other thing that connects to the weather forecast, but it's really important to read the manual, whatever you buy, because it's gonna tell you how to set it and how to change it. It does require some like administration. It's not that smart.
Okay.
Yep.
Also, shouldn't people be educated to only do irrigation after 10 p.m. at night during the summer? Otherwise,
Absolutely.
it evaporates anyway.
Absolutely. So that is really important. I think that between like 2 in the morning and 5 is better because we've been having really high low temperatures for some reason. Might be climate change. 8 p.m. is when we would see temperatures drop off normally, but they're not. It's just staying hot, and that's why the saguaro cactuses are exploding because they're too hot. So don't water it at 8 because then your cactus is going to be like, why are you giving me a drink right now? I can't even breathe. It fills up their little cells. It's better to wait until that early morning before the sun is rising so you can get a long water cycle complete before there's going to be like sun making the water evaporate.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that.
Yep.
Have you guys thought about a tiered watering system where between like 0 and 100 gallon is like $5, and between 100 gallon and 200 gallons is $10?
So we can't get that specific, but we do have a tiered water rate structure. There's a base amount that's already included,
Okay.
and it's a pretty big amount. Yeah. If you have a Phoenix water bill, take a look next time you get it, or look at your old one, and it will tell you how many units you're getting. I think a unit is 748 gallons. So you always get base units included. Anything extra, you get charged a little bit more for it. Yeah. So this is a sort of call to action to join us, and I'm going to talk about our most organized, to-the-point solution. It is the Phoenix Mayor Save Water Pledge. And I feel like this would be really cool to talk to your buyers about when they're coming to the city. And I want to talk some more about that idea. So this is our Mayor Cake, and we just renewed the pledge permanently. So it's going to become a permanent part of Phoenix's culture. There are 4 options. The first one is, I think, easy. Keep water in mind. Just think about it. The second is to find and fix leaks. If you find a leak while you're not looking, don't ignore it. Go do something about it. And if you look about every 3 months for leaks that are hidden, so your autofill on your pool, is it filling itself up? Is it broken? We wouldn't really notice unless we're looking. Or is there something underground? Or if you're watering in the morning, like we just said is the best way to water, you're probably asleep. So you're not going to see if your emitter cap like blew off or there's a leak. So run your system during the day, double check that it's all working well. The third one is choosing efficient appliances. So the EPA WaterSense label, and I just mentioned the smart controller incentive. Those products have that label. We also have a toilet incentive, high efficiency toilets. So any products at the like Home Depot, Lowe's, wherever you go to buy an appliance, it's going to say WaterSense. The last is to water with the weather, like we were just talking about. So when it's hot, we do want to water a little more, but when it's really nice out, we don't need to water like it's summer. So make sure you're changing the way that you're watering. If you take the pledge, you can get a magnet. Some of those are on the table. And it is dry erase finish. Very cool. Reusable. You can use a little marker. Track your progress, and you can get a sticker and a pencil. And every month you'll get a newsletter from our team with more tips to help you succeed with saving water. So I think it's a really cool idea to give this to people who are new to the city. We have a website where you can learn more. It's phoenix.gov/SaveWaterPledge. You can get there from the Save Water one too. Okay, and now it's time for my questions. So, first, I have this general awareness that I think when you buy a house, you have to make certain declarations. So, is this house haunted? Was someone murdered here? What utilities are available? Is that right? Yes, okay. One of those is water. So, I've heard that everybody's getting questions about water. Is it okay to live here? What's going on? I think that it would be really good to make a point of being like very obvious about declaring like who is your water provider. When you're selling a house, somebody wants to buy this house, like they walked in, just say like, the provider is the City of Phoenix. Here's their website. Go check it out. Does that sound like something everybody can do?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. So with that in mind, I would love to hear about questions that you guys are getting.
You know what, I think that's a good thing to get, suggest to the seller to put it in the SPDS, the disclosure. So put that website, whatever, other cities, who's the provider, and provide, get them sellers information so they can be more informed, so when they looking at the property, they know.
Exactly, yeah.
Excellent.
Question, how is this gonna affect was it 110 to ADU the past? Build accessory dwellings in the backyard?
What's your question about it?
So with water being scarce, do you see that phasing out? Because it just passed that like 2 years ago.
I think the accessory units, it just depends on the community, really. I don't think it would be impacted by water that much.
I didn't understand his question. What was it?
I'm asking about the accessory dwelling units, so like a casita, and I mean, it is building
Because you're
more.
adding more fixtures,
Yeah.
right? You're adding more.
That's true, but
you're
they call them like a
increasing-
mother-in-law, so maybe
Yeah.
your mother-in-law sold her big house and now she's in a casita, so maybe that's more efficient.
Gotcha.
But Phoenix already approved the whole ADU thing, so, they had to take that into consideration.
Yeah,
Cynthia Campbell was on that, I think.
yeah,
Mhm.
and you might be able to talk about that one later. I'm not sure if it's relevant.
So you're only with the City of Phoenix, so
Mhm.
like if Cave Creek Water or Rio Verde, you don't have anything to do with.
Yeah, so that's a good point. So the declaration idea, you guys sell in a lot of different areas probably, and that's why you're gonna have to like do a little bit extra research or ask the seller, who's your current provider. So it could be different. There's like very mingled service areas. So we also serve like Paradise Valley, but then there's Arizona Water Company up north, so it's kind of all mixed up.
I mean, in general though, because I have people moving, from out of state and
Yeah.
just, they're worried about water shortage. I mean,
Yeah.
it's probably a valid concern, but.
So what are they asking?
Are you gonna run out of water?
Yeah,
literally, that's what they ask.
Yeah.
Well, and because I'm selling up north a little bit too, and they hear about Rio Verde and everything's they got
Yeah.
to haul water. We don't want to do that.
Don't
And
want
then,
some
Yeah.
just
Well, Rio Verde is like a valid concern because they're an unincorporated community. They don't have like water the way that the city does. So if you buy out there, it's beautiful, but you do have to accept that you've got to have another plan.
or private water companies like
Yeah.
Epcor.
Yeah.
That
Hauled water.
Like,
They
Yeah,
just want
they're
that
just
to do
as
with
good.
gas.
hauling or
They're
make
just-
their own like kind of co-op of like a small situation. So there's ways to work through it, but
But they're all kind of getting it from the Colorado River and
well,
The
they're
same
next to
sources.
the Verde River, but they're relying on groundwater right there.
aquifers.
Yeah.
So, you're gonna go over like where is the, what they call it, ghost subdivisions where they got permits and they're running out of water?
You're talking about like they're not tied
Like
in.
around here north, Scottsdale, that they don't have the water?
Well, that would be Rio Verde.
Right.
They're unincorporated.
All builders have to present a 100-year water
Correct.
plan
Yeah.
before they can even break ground.
The
So
problem with Rio Verde is they did the Wildcat lot split, so they made it sort of tricky, so they didn't have to follow those rules. They put the burden on the home buyer to figure out how to get their water, and so they all sunk a well, and then their wells dried up.
Mhm.
But how many of those communities, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot more than.
There's a few little ones
How would I
sprinkled
find out
throughout.
those? So I would,
How do you?
how would I find those communities
Well-
that are based on?
So normally, correct me if I'm wrong, but normally when I have that question for people that are like snowbirds, if the city is not within the Maricopa County or metro area, unless you have like EPCOR and another private company, most likely it's gonna have the subdivision declaration, so it has a 100-year plan. So even if it is in a county island, which is supposedly not a city, but it could be inside its own city or whatever, they still have the planning for the water. So I always tell people, like, don't worry about it unless you live in something that is outside the metro Phoenix area. So, 'cause normally you're gonna have, like you said, you're gonna have to have a subdivision plan, so that includes a 100-year water plan.
Yeah, there's some nuances that Adam and Bill talk about. So,
You should be able to check with the city and see if they do have a 100-year plan, I would think.
yeah, and you just want to make sure, that's why it's cool to know who the provider is. If you know who the provider is, City of Phoenix, you're good to go. If there's no provider, that's a well. That's a little bit riskier. Yeah. So, yes?
Okay, I have a question about, there are a lot of these pools that were built in the 60s and 70s that do not have the drain in the yard to put the
Okay.
water into, and so people are, putting it out on the street. I assume that's really not correct.
Yeah.
How do you solve those problems?
So we actually have a flyer that just got updated with instructions, so I can email that to Kelly and get it to all of you guys. It's different with each city, but with Phoenix, we just finished writing out the complete instructions. So other questions that you guys were getting about people's apprehensions, yes?
I have some relatives that live in San Antonio, and they're always, every year they're rationing water at different times, and they're just amazed that we're in a desert
Yeah.
and we're never rationing. Do you anticipate anything happening in the near future regarding rationing?
So I don't know if we would do like rationing per se, but there will be decisions that are made about what we're prioritizing. So I've been hinting we're using a lot of water outside. Are we all watering efficiently? No, probably not. So I want to focus on those inefficiencies and leaks and being mindful about those, giving you guys programs to help solve those problems now. Does that help? Yeah. Did you have a question?
Yeah, so we have over 180 golf courses in the area here. And they all use water, of course. I don't want to throw golf courses under the bus because I love golf.
Yeah.
But is there any plan for them?
I
I'm
mean,
not a
it's
good
good.
golfer either.
It's good to be self-aware. I heard from someone yesterday that they were talking to someone on a golf course while they're complaining about golf courses. And they're like, "Holy bugs." I have like maybe an unpopular opinion. I think that it's good to have recreation. It's good to have things to do outside. It's really good to be as efficient as possible. So golf courses, I'm not an expert in how they manage their landscapes, but there might be something they can do to be more efficient. Can they convert the pit thing, I don't know, to be like desert plants? If you're not walking in there, you're not aiming there on purpose. It
that the golf courses use gray water.
Yeah.
Some of them do,
Yeah.
not all of them. Only a few really do.
But
Most of them do.
there's a problem with lime in the water for golf courses. That's the
Okay.
biggest challenge. That's why Ahwatukee went, all their golf courses turned white, and they had to make a change with the water because of how much lime was in the water. So that presented a whole different problem.
Yeah.
But golf courses in general try to use a reclamation system to keep costs down, because if they don't, then their tee times get too expensive and then people don't golf. So they're all cognizant of it, and it's not like they're just got a free rein to use all the water they want. There is restrictions.
I think they are trying to optimize, and in some situations the golf courses are also regulated. So like city-operated golf courses have more regulations versus private ones sometimes. It's like a large turf facility, is what it's called. So we don't really have a perfect solution to optimize water use at golf courses, but it's definitely something we're thinking about. For now, I feel like it benefits the community because it's somewhere, it might not be cost accessible for everybody, but a lot of people do go and enjoy golfing. So,
Not only that, the only way to kind of mitigate the heat signature is by having more vegetation.
oh, I'd love to tell you guys about that. So,
I know they just passed a $60 million project for shade or whatever.
yeah. So, removing grass, I've heard that some people think that causes urban heat. It does not. So, if you just have a grass lawn, that's not making any shade unless you're an ant. It's better to have landscapes with layers. So, you have like a tree and shrubs, and then maybe some ground cover of vine if you're fancy. That makes a microclimate way more than just having grass.
But what I mean is the absorption of the heat. So, because if you replace it with artificial turf,
That is hotter. That's true. Yeah.
So,
It's better to have a tree. Yeah.
so you're saying change my grass for the tree.
Yes. And we have an incentive to help them do that.
Yes, trees, okay?
Yep.
Get four.
Yep. Trees
Where
are
do you
better.
find these incentives online?
Phoenix.gov/savewater.
I'm saying that,
Phoenix.gov/savewater.
say what, okay, I already know that.
And we have the stuff on the table too.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
I actually, true story, I had to get rid of Cecil ironwood
Okay.
because the roots were getting everywhere.
Okay.
So that thing is a pest. So I
They're
don't-
big. If you have SRP power, you can get 2 free trees if you take a class.
No, it's APAs,
Oh.
but still, I have to, I mean, I love the tree, it's just, it was either that or my house, so,
True.
so I have to get rid of it, but I don't know how, we should get more study on that, like what kind of trees you can actually do.
Right, that won't eat into your
It's,
pipes.
yeah,
think it's
it's
insane.
right
That's
plant,
true.
right
Yeah.
place. So desert willow is smaller. It's really cute. There's some landscape plants on the table that
Right.
suggest smaller trees.
I'll take a,
Yeah.
I'm not getting rid of the grass, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some grass is good. Like my dog loves grass, so a little bit's fine. Yep.
Does City Phoenix offer incentive for grass removal? I know
Yes.
Scottsdale gives $5,000 up to $5,000
Yes.
to take grass out.
I don't know if we have a cap, but
Grass
we do
or turf? Or both?
grass.
Grass.
Alive grass.
Okay.
Somebody called it God-given grass.
Yeah.
It's alive. So taking that out, yeah, taking that out, we will give you $2 per square foot, and we don't tell you what to do with it. You could put rocks. I hope you don't. I hope you put a tree in. You can get 2 free ones. So, yeah. Yep.
Do the incentives that City Phoenix, does that go whether if you're not in Phoenix, like how, like does EPCOR do the same?
So some other providers have their own incentives. It's good to check their websites. Our City of Phoenix incentives are only for Phoenix Water customers. So if you're getting our bill, you're eligible.
Right, okay.
What about the quality of our drinking water?
So our drinking water report is published every year. We meet or exceed EPA, Clean Water, and Safe Drinking Water Act standards. We've got really good water. Not everybody likes the taste. It's kind of like
I was
dirt.
gonna say, it's just the worst tasting
salt.
water.
I'm from here. I like that it tastes like dirt.
It tastes like dirt and chlorine.
Yeah, but you could use a little pitcher.
I mean, I have to borrow, but
Yeah.
it's so just disgusting.
Check your borrow for leaks. That's another one.
Piece of lemon can go far away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't like to think what is going into my body though.
the filter pitcher might help you feel more confident. And read that report. We have naturally high levels of certain substances because we're in the desert. But just read the report and then see how you feel.
Is that also from Phoenix.gov Safe Water?
You can just find it on the regular water page.
Okay.
You can also just look up like Phoenix annual drinking water report. Yeah.
You know, it's amazing, we like here, talking about taste. And there's plenty of countries that don't have water.
Right.
They travel miles to get
Yeah.
water.
Mm-hmm.
Or here in the reservation.
Yeah. Yeah, we're lucky to have
Yeah.
good water
We're blessed.
services.
Any talk about the fluoride in the water, keeping it, removing some of it, not removing it?
I think it's declared in that drinking water report. That is out of my decision-making realm. I just drink the water.
Helen, we're gonna take one last question.
All right.
Yeah, Governor Hobbs put a moratorium on building, at least in Buckeye, a while back. Where do we stand on that?
So whatever you heard from Governor Hobbs last is probably where we stand. I have not heard anything recent. That was due to the basin modeling. The Phoenix Basin is bigger than Phoenix. It impacts them as well. There's sub-basins, and Buckeye does not really have water rights set up as well the way that Phoenix does. We're lucky to live in Phoenix. So, not sure what they're going to do.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can send a copy of this presentation to you guys, and any resources you would like, please take them. I'd love for you to hand them out to buyers.